Alright loves, I'm back, and finally we're getting ready to do the graduation stoles. So I have two different ways I'm going to do this. One way is to do the 13 by 19 simple one sheet of paper. We'll end up with both the left and right sides to press, and then the other way, of course we have to have a complicated method, is if you really want to do the entire length. This is a way where you can do two sheets to cover from the back all the way down to the tips of each side of the stole. So we'll start with the simplest method first, since that's what most of you are here to see. 13 by 19, we're going to get it popping. Let me go ahead and get my heat press closer to me where you can see. And with the 13 by 19, the cool thing is you can typically press the left and right side together. Now, first thing you want to do is make sure that your stole is kind of ironed out, and you can do that on the press, just giving it a few seconds, maybe 5 seconds or so. I think I've already pre-pressed this one, and this one happens to be a 70 inch stole here. So I wanted to show you how you can make much more of an impact, you know, with the full bleed versus the 13 by 19, but the 13 by 19 still looks really good, and it looks much better than how it like abruptly cuts off to the top and the bottom of the 13 by 19 paper. You don't have to worry about that look, so we're going to control that. First things first, let's place some butcher paper at the bottom here. These are some pre-cut sheets. Definitely do me some good. Now what I'm going to determine is how far down I want to place my graphics. Now I told you you can do the front and the back, or the left and the right side, I'm sorry. But in order to do that, I'm going to place my stole on the press, and I'm going to take whatever's excess, and either you're going to have to hold it, or you have a table surface or something that you can tuck it under so it doesn't slide, because this fabric is really sleek, it likes to slide. Alright, so I'm going to make sure that my tips or my tails are even. And if I was in better lighting, which, you know, I don't really have a choice right now, I would make sure that my graphics, especially where my text is and where the faces are, that they're not going to get cut off at all. So yes, you have a chance to kind of press both of them at once, but if it is a risk that you can't take, let me show you another method that you can do. You can still press them at once. Get you a little bit of spray adhesive. This one is Eco Mist, and I'm going to take it over here to my box and spray. I'm doing a light spray. You'll hear it spraying. I'm doing a light spray, and I'm making sure my nozzle is clear so I'm not spitting any chunks on my image anywhere, okay? Okay, so my image is tacky now, so when I lay it down, make sure I have clear space here. I can lay my stole where I know for a fact I'm going to get my complete image on there. Make sure you don't twist that top up while you're doing this. So let me pull this down a little bit. You want that top to relax. You don't want to miss and flip it. You know how you flip your belt sometimes when you're putting it through the loop? You don't want to do that. I'm making sure I have the same amount of the tail hanging off the edge of the paper. And that's really visually, because you can't guarantee it. But you'll see that I have a lot of extra white space here at the top, which is fine. I'm not going to pull on it that way. I'm going to hold my paper, and I'm going to flip the paper in the stole. I'm going to flip it so that my paper is up top. Now I know for a fact all of my text is covered up, and I'm not blindly setting this on top of my substrate. Alright, So you see that on there? We should be able to give it a good little 60 seconds. And let me see what my pressure is looking like. I should have tested my pressure before. Here we go. And we'll give it a minute. And that will be one side of the sole. Now the beautiful thing about this is it has two sides. So I'm going to show you on the other side doing with a full bleed. And while that's going on, I'm going to show you how we're going to do a full bleed with two 13 by 19 sheets. Now let me show you a trick also. If you happen to have roll media, you see some roll medias, and I just printed one long sheet. Okay? That's going to save you from tiling and the headache of that. But if you don't have roll media, then this is how you have to roll, and you get the same process. I mean the same results, just a little bit of a different process. We still got about 20 seconds. I'm not going to start cutting because knowing me, I always wait to the little 50, 60 seconds to try to do something and end up either messing up what I'm doing in the meantime or leaving something on the press too long. So we're going to just go ahead and focus on this right now, give it its little last few seconds, and take this off. Alright, so press back where you can see it, turn the timer off. Ooh, this is hot. Good thing is you can grab it by the side that wasn't pressed, and voila. Like I said, this is the one that hangs a little bit longer, but as you can see, even as it's hanging, the only thing that you don't see color on is the top of the shoulders. And with the 13 by 19 design this way, with the way that I do the abstract backgrounds, you don't really see a harsh kind of cut line. It looks like it's organic. It has a purpose, and in this case, it's like a little watercolor technique. But and we didn't even go all the way to the bottom of the tails there. So this 13 by 19 did well for what we needed to do. So we're gonna go ahead and get a new cover sheet. And boom. This next method, you most likely are going to have to press each side separate because the page is so long. You're not going to be able to really get that in there without causing some kind of bunching at the top. We won't be able to press both sides at one time. So this one will end up being 4 presses and 2 sheets of paper. So we'll just set that there for now. Oh, actually, I'm going to set it over here. So I can close the press and move it so you can see what I have to cut. So I showed you on the video, the how to print video, how we're going to tile this. Basically, I just manually chose an overlap, and it's got a good, maybe even 2-inch overlap here. So we have plenty to play with. So as I'm getting ready to cut right now, make sure that you can see what I see. And pull the cutting board down. I have this rotary cutting mat, and typically I use my rotary cutting tool. As a matter of fact, let me go grab it. Either that or an X-Acto knife. I don't really like to cut with scissors. I don't know if people are cutting with scissors when they do tiling, but you're almost guaranteed to mess yourself up because you need both lines to be really straight so that you can line up your overlapping images and understand whether it's really on point or not. So let me go grab my cutting tool. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to use the blade, which if you have this is an alpha blade. You can use an alpha blade, X-Acto knife. You can use a box cutter if you need to. Let me go ahead and get this out of my way. It's heating up my hip. All right. So I'm going to place both images side by side just so I can see how much am I overlapping. And I'm paying close attention to basically, hey, I have the eyeglasses there. I can see the top of the 77. So I can get a good idea of if I cut something off, what I'm going to be missing. But I don't want to cut too much off to where I'm just like cutting it really close. So you want to give yourself at least a 1/2 inch overlap. And I'll edge up the paper here. I also have a clear ruler that I'm going to use on top. So the cutting that kind of gives you an idea of when you're cutting even all the way across. So this is going to give us at least a 1/2 inch here. And I'm cutting off a whole inch right now. Alright, so you only have to trim one piece because you're going to overlap. So let's see, can you see me overlapping? And this is just a process you do by eye. What I'm doing is I'm making sure that what I see in the image, I'm finding little cues that let me know when I'm on point. Certain cues such as, you know, where the lips or the eyes are, where a piece of a certain color that's really small just happens to be on the next image. And I think that is spot on. Let me grab some heat tape. I think I have some tucked away in here. This is a little temporary mock setup, so y'all have to forgive me trying to make this work during this corona. Alright, so I'm going to take 2 pieces of tape. And first, now you don't tape the top at all. So if you end up taping the printed side of the paper, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble. So what I'm doing is lifting the edge there, and I placed a piece of tape, sticky side up underneath it, tacking one side first, and then smoothing my finger over it to, oh, well, I didn't tack it. It only went under one paper. Alright, so we'll leave that alone and do it again. Make sure I'm linking up. I see a little tap, piece of gold right there. And then I'm pivoting to make sure that my other side gets right. There we go. So this time, I'm making sure that I put the tape underneath where both pieces of paper will be able to touch it. Right now I'm touching one first, and then as I swipe my finger over it, it touches the second sheet. Now this is a pretty big overlap, so you have to kind of do a little bit extra to make sure that you're reaching both sheets of paper. So I'm using a longer piece of tape. Okay, so I have it tacked on the bottom side, left and right side, and I'm going to make sure I put another piece right there in the center. I lift. And I'm putting pressure with my hand to make sure that I'm tacking it down where I want it to go. And then I'm going to flip the whole thing, being careful, because these long pages can be very difficult to handle. And then I can add a couple more pieces of tape going the horizontal way. And that'll just give me a little more stability while I'm moving this thing around. So this isn't so bad. It's tile in 2 pieces. This time I'm going to check, make sure my tile looks good. I'm going to show it to you all, make sure it looks good. Looks continuous. So we're good on that. Now, because I already have the full piece, I wanted to show y'all how to do the tile piece. From here, it's just pretty much folded in half, trimming it down the center, and then you have your left and your right piece. And I even crease it. This is much easier to do with the roll media piece because you don't have to be aware of the tape in the middle there. matter of fact, let's cut this open face so we can see what we're cutting. But we have plenty of space between this graphic. Even if you cut like a kindergartner, you should be able to make it through this project. Cut in right down the center. There we go. And now we have our left and right piece. Now this one, sometimes the way you display it is going to show left and right different from how you're pressing it. So you would be able to switch up the left and right side according to your mock-up if you wanted to at this point, because we're going to end up pressing one side at a time anyhow. So we are going to spray our graphic so that when we place the fabric, so we're going to make sure that, of course, we're doing the right side. So we're going to do the blank side of this stove. And I want you to see how this measures up before we even do it. So this paper, I think I did it at 33 inches. Or the graphic I did at 33 inches. And I'm going to be able to get a full bleed off of that. And even if the way that it's designed at the top, even if you had just a little bit, 5 inches of white space between the two sides of the back, cool, you can put a logo or something in the back of the neck. But you would at least be able to make sure that you cover this side entirely. So we'll see the difference in just a moment. All right, so I'm going to make sure that I do the opposite image so that we keep the same placement. I'm going to go ahead and spray this off camera. Good for this one. And we're going to remember our placement. I'm going to go ahead and use the words that are already on here to help me with where my current text should be. I want to make sure I get more of that bulldog too. There's a light little tat going on here. There we go. So I have full bulldog on there. Full bleed. And then you'll notice too, I want you to see here how we curve, how the fabric curves up into this area, but this strip is still wide enough to maintain the full image at the bottom. See, we have no bleed at the bottom, and then as it curves, we're still able to maintain our bleed here, so we're perfect, we're good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and place this with the paper face down, bottoms up, and I'm going to have to press this twice, so I'm not going to be really picky right now with, of course, my paper is sticky. I'm not going to try to get the max by doing this diagonal. I'm just going to keep it simple so that I know what I pressed and what I didn't press, and just press it straight up. It's going to take 2 presses anyway, so no need to try to maximize it and maybe potentially mispressing a spot. And this time I'm going to stop it when it's down to 15 seconds just to see if there's any difference there, just to show y'all that sometimes you need to test your substrates. You don't need a full 60 seconds, and those 15 seconds shaved off of every shirt or every press could definitely do you some good, especially when it's a project like this that requires multiple presses. So also, don't spray your not your substrate, don't spray your paper until you're ready to place your substrate, because if I spray this right now, thinking I'm doing something waiting, what's going to happen is it may not have that tack by the time I get ready to place my substrate on it. All right, 15 seconds. So this one would have gone for 45. Plenty of heat. I see my paper yellowing. And what I might want to do is just get a second piece of butcher paper here, because what's going to happen, it might be tacked down. And if it is tacked down there, I don't want to disturb it and pick it up because it could shift the print on the fabric. So let's see. Let me trim this butcher paper. And this press, I don't really have the problems with the transfer issues as far as having to use a top cover paper. It is a good habit to do it, but I don't know if it's because of the style and the even pressure or what, but I don't really have that issue. So all I really have to make sure I do is maintain some paper underneath it for the bleed. But yes, speaking on how you should do it, you should have cover paper up top as well. And I don't want to overpress where I don't need to, so I'm just sliding it down so that I make sure that I do get a little bit of overpress. And I'm trying to keep the seam out of it so that I don't have uneven pressure or smushing my seam more than I need to. So I'll pull that seam off. We're just going to end up with another extra press. I have no graphic up there, so that bypasses, and this should give us our second press to end up with one full press on here. And let me turn the timer on. I'm going to go ahead and cut this sheet in half, since I know that's how we're rolling now. And we get down to 15 seconds. Pull that one off. Now, I could go ahead and spray this. We'll be done in just a few seconds. You go ahead and peel it all the way off. You don't want any ghosting or anything to occur. Throw away this cover paper. And see how close we got to that top right there? And we bled all the way off the bottom. So I'm just going to contrast real quick. That's the all over side. That's the 13 by 19 side. So yes, you get quite a bit more, I guess just a little more oomph, you know, just kick it up a little bit. But it definitely is more presses, more ink, more paper, more work. So charge for that if you're going to do it that way. All right, so let's go ahead and do our other side. Same thing here. I'm going to make sure that my lettering is covered, faces are covered, anything important like the number on his jersey, I'm making sure I get that in there. And once I have it, the right placement, just pulling the graphic all the way through, flattening that out. Let me go ahead and put down my cover paper. Got a good tap on there, so this isn't going anywhere. And I'm making sure that my tail is on the press. You don't want to hang it off and then you forget to press it and you have a little faint fade off or abrupt fade off, depending on how close you got to that edge. You just don't need that. So let's go ahead, we'll do 15-second shots. So I guess that'll be 45 seconds. And like I said, if you did 45 seconds each time, then that means we would have shaved, what, a whole minute off of this process of pressing? We need that. So I'm gonna hold on to that. And we're almost done. Whew, it's been a long day, guys. And I know I promised y'all I would do this. I was trying to do this yesterday. So I appreciate you all for having patience, working with me, and giving me ideas of what you all want to see. So it's definitely a team effort. Teamwork makes the dream work. Alright, so good on that. And I was being lazy and not actually setting the timer. And what I just expected just happened, so it started to slide down. I caught it. So be careful. Alright. Shifting that down. We get the rest of the paper on there fully. We're gonna have a little overlap, that's cool. And this will be our last press. I'm making sure I hold this, and what I didn't do was take the excess and make sure that I roll it up and set it on the table surface so that weight doesn't pull it down, because this whole thing almost slid off. Because like I said, this material is super slick, so you have to watch it. So I'm just holding it nowhere near my heat source so that it won't shift until I get it good and pressed. So 45 more seconds and we're done. Did y'all catch that move I just did? Alright, so in the meantime, in between time, we'll talk about what we've done so far. So we did the graduation caps, which was the most requested how-to video because it is a little confusing. So go back and watch that video. It had a version of it where we did the suede type fabric. This is the Sublimation or flocking. I tell customers suede because they don't really know what flocking is. So tell them it's a suede-like finish or a no glitter option. Then we did the glitter option. Glitter option there for the hat. And this would be either, you could heat it to this, but I'm telling y'all, put this on cardstock. I guess I did that one for the full minute because I was talking. Look at me. Guess y'all are working. Alright, let's pull that off. Real easy breezy. And let's see what we're working with. And let's move this purse out of the way so maybe I can get a little bit closer to you. Okay, so this is our full bleed stole, and I'm going to put it on. Hopefully, let me move my big old hair out of the way. Okay, so you can kind of see how far it goes up in that, the design does. So you almost can't tell that it was white, especially if you had a background color on this too. I just use the white because with watercolors, you can get away with using a lot less ink using the white from the image, and it doesn't look like it started as white. So this is the full bleed version, the all over version, and then I'll flip it and show you. This is the 13 by 19 version. Get this hair out of the way. Alright, so 13 by 19 version, yes, you see some white up at the top, but this is also a 70-inch stole. So if you're doing a 60-inch stole, you're going to see a lot less white right here. Look at our ends. They don't look abruptly cut off. Hello, hello. You found a way to design it to where it makes your item stand out, especially from the competition. So, and you will see a lot that are cut off like that, and that's why these look like they're a little more of a premium product. So make sure that, you know, you're kind of giving yourself that competitive edge. So this one, especially if they're wearing the regalia that has the, I forget what it is, but it's like a chest type of fabric, like a diamond that goes across the shoulders. I can't recall what it is right now. Almost like a hood or whatever. So that would go up here. So you wouldn't have anything up here anyway. But I'm always telling you to put everything in this 13 by 19 area. Anything else that goes here, just let it be decorative, or, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be seen. So you can watermark an image of the school. You can put their college association. So yeah, you have your high school colors, but maybe you watermark the school logo that they're going to for for college, or what sport they're going to go to, or also what their major is going to be. So if they're doing nursing or anything like that, you might want to put some type of images that have to do with that. So if those get lost, it won't be the main image, which are the photos, of course, the school, class of, and your baby's name, or your customer's baby's name. So I'll flip it back one more time so we can see the difference there. And let you see for yourself whether you really want to go through that not that additional step. Lord, it's a couple of extra steps. So see if that's what you want to go through in order to get this all over look. And it does, like I have to tell you, it looks better. Alright, so also what we did, I'll go ahead and we'll do a run through of everything now that we're done